Hello, my little ravens, and welcome back to a Pagan Rants on the chilling adventures of Sabrina. This chapter follows chapter 7 and looks upon the effects of Dorcas and Agatha's actions. Why do I say this? Because chapter 8 is called The Burial. Starts off normal, I guess. Sabrina and Salem are just watching a movie. Ambrose and Sabrina are discussing their love lives and prospective dates. Aunt Zelda's in a flurry because of the amount of bodies that are coming their way, including the camper ones. And then the phone rings. Zelda informs whoever's on the other end of the line they had not heard, and then tells Sabrina about the accident down in the mines. Sabrina, immediately panicked, says Harvey's there, and Zelda says, "Pray to Satan, he's alright, go." Already there's a hub and a bub at the mines. People are trying to help the wounded. People are trying to help with the rescue effort. People are bringing supplies, anything that they can do to help. Rose and Susie also arrived to help. Fortunately, and also quite predictably, Harvey is alright. Mostly due to the fact that Sabrina had put that protection spell on him. Unfortunately, she didn't put a protection spell on Tommy. And Tommy's one of the 5 guys who is still inside the mines. Turns out, when Sabrina goes and finds a doctor to find something to mend Harvey's deep cut, Susie had gone into the mines. The drill hole apparently was too small for most of the guys, but Susie is pretty small for her age and also quite slender. She got the wild idea to go into the hole. Fortunately, Susie was okay. However, she brought back a busted, bloody mining helmet that was the only thing that she could find in there. Apparently, there were no bodies. They must have been buried or something. The only thing that she could find was one of the mining hats, which turns out to be Harvey's brother Tommy's hat. Harvey wants to keep digging, but his father says no, we don't have the right equipment, and everyone is tired and stung into a, pardon me, French, but shit show. Quite frankly, this entire show is a shit show, so one literal shit show in a shit show is quite appropriate. When Sabrina and Aunt Hilda return, it turns out that Aunt Z and Ambrose had been trying to help with a bit of witchcraft. Ambrose astral projected into the mines with Auntie Z keeping watch, and Ambrose didn't find anything. Nothing. Nobody alive, nothing. Considering the power of Dorcas and Agatha's revenge and intent, I highly doubt that their spell would have failed, to be perfectly honest. But perhaps it's my naivete. I was hoping at least one would survive, but no. Nothing of the sort. None of them. Was at this point I just thought, wow, okay. They're going to go out on this one. Turns out Harvey's father had no intention of restarting the search. He made the half-ass excuse that he couldn't risk any more lives, so he called off the search. I mean, as a father, with your elder boy in there. No. This is where I stopped believing in that this series was just going to improve, because no parent, no matter how dickish, would just let their child die inside a mine. If there was even the slimmest chance that they might have survived, I would have searched that mine, even risking my own life if it had been my child. And this father's just like, yeah, nothing I can do, I'm just going to contact the bank and call off the search. And as Harvey pointed out, he just wants the payout from the bank and the insurance company. As if these characters can't get any more vile. And he's also coming to arrange the funeral for the following day, because he can't get the check for the payout until there is a body to bury. Or at least there's been a burial of some sort. As if I already hated Harvey's father, and now I just hate him even more. For once in his life, Harvey seems to be actually showing some emotion. Naturally, when Agatha and Dorcas hear about the funeral, they're practically acting like it is a birthday party that is being planned. Nicholas, however, is a little bit more sympathetic and is absolutely appalled at the entire thing, and even has the decency to show a bit of concern for his rival for Sabrina's heart, Harvey. Not only that, but when Dorcas and Agatha practically try not to even conceal the fact that they are gleeful at the deaths, even Prudence starts to get a little suspicious. Sabrina asks her aunt Hilda about dying and the afterlife and whether or not dying hurts. She especially uses the examples where Aunt Zelda murders Aunt Hilda whenever she's in a really foul mood. Aunt Hilda jokingly answers that it depends on the murder weapon of choice. Then Sabrina wonders if it was a spell or if her aunt is cursed that she keeps coming back to life, and Aunt Hilda tells her about the Kine Pit in their graveyard. Plots of soil from Cain's garden that had been soaked with Abel's blood. Most fertile soil on earth and containing the mysteries of life and death. Able to bring the dead back to life. I suppose it's too bad that Cain didn't throw his brother Abel in there. It is at this point I realize, and many other viewers as well realize, that the theme of this chapter is the dark art of necromancy. A big no-no. Not only in the laws of magic and in the laws of nature, but just a big moral no-no. It's a black line that should never be crossed. And I have a feeling that Sabrina, at this point, doesn't really care about morality. I mean, for crying out loud, the funeral even managed to get Miss Wardwell, aka Lilith, to turn up. Managed to get Dr. Cerberus to show up, and even managed to make Aunt Zelda cry. I know this is probably going to sound very, very cold-hearted, but seeing Zelda so vulnerable and so emotional and practically human, well, mortal in this case, I suppose I should say, kind of, it's my favorite part of this whole chapter, and my favorite part of this whole sorry affair. I'm afraid that I won't be able to go into full detail of Thomas's funeral, because at this point I just had to hold back the tears. I'm afraid I'm a rather sensitive soul when it comes to life and death. Apologies. Ross sang a beautiful song. Harvey made probably one of the best eulogies a fake character could ever receive, and the father does this dickish and is probably a little insensitive, as one could expect from that man. Naturally, when he talked about how Tommy loved the mines, Harvey called out on his bullshit quite publicly. The whole thing, I'm afraid, escalated into a verbal and almost physical fight, to the point where the empty casket was knocked over and Tommy's helmet was knocked to the ground. Turns out Harvey could have gone to France. He could have gone to Notre Dame. He got a scholarship to go to Europe. But he stayed, for the sake of his brother, to protect him. Harvey started to blame himself, as is the human reaction to this sort of tragedy. I don't think I would have done or said any different, to be perfectly honest, if I was in his shoes. But he blamed himself for the fact that Tommy didn't go to Notre Dame. But before Mr. Kingle could punch Tommy in the face, Aunt Zelda stopped him using telekinetic magic. I must say, that was a rather ballsy and brave thing to do, and really, really risky, but I'm happy to Hecate that she did. Because at that point, I actually looked away, and that was the first time I actually felt I should do that. But of course, nobody questions it. It's as if everyone already thinks it's normal, which makes me think that there have always been rumors, or at least suspicions about the Spellman family, but none of them have ever either been thought about or thrown around as accusations, because it's ridiculous to the minds of humans of the 21st century. Witchcraft no longer exists. Witchcraft no longer exists. Good grief. And then they believe in the sky daddy, as Mr. Atheist calls it. And after the funeral, it really becomes clear that Sabrina has no intention of following any moral rules. She talks to Miss Wardwell about getting her help in raising Tommy from the dead. Because she knows he's dead. Everyone else does not, because those witches, they cannot tell what they have seen in an astral projection, because it goes against natural law. Everything must be maintained in balance, and everything must play out without magical interference. Oh, the naivete of that stupid, simple-minded buffoon. Fix this using death magic. Death magic, people. It's almost as though she's suggesting, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to fix a broken... what's a good analysis for this? I'm going to fix someone else's broken heart by getting the person who crushed her heart in the first place to fall in love with someone else. And that, by the way, love magic is also banned. It's dangerous. It's to mess with death, really bad. To mess with the affairs of the heart, and now you're going into dangerous territory. Both of these, oh my god. Fixing death magic, fixing someone's broken heart with death magic, and then fixing a broken heart with love magic. Oh my god. That is the best I can come up with. Oh, Hecate. What were these writers thinking? Are they trying to shit upon the original Sabrina? Are they trying to make her the most dim-witted person that they could ever dream of making? And it really doesn't help that she's blonde. Lilith tries to, I don't know, half dissuade her, half persuade Sabrina into going along with it. She tells Sabrina about her Book of the Dead, the book with all the necromantic rites in it, that her incantations have yielded great results and that she's seen them firsthand, but that it's dangerous, foolhardy. It's easy enough to do, but that's not the problem. It goes against all things matters moral, and she also says to Sabrina, you are a lot of things, but you, my dear, are not a killer. And the problem is, Sabrina does not outright say no. And that's where I think, seriously, you are thinking about unbalancing cosmic forces. You are thinking about killing someone here for the sake of saving your boyfriend, your spineless boyfriend, from his bulldozer father. I mean, there are so many tricks and traps with necromancy that a novice in it should never even attempt or even think about doing it. And she's actually thinking about it. Oh my god. Following that very, very interesting conversation, the high priest comes to the Spellman residence to meet with Ambrose, to talk about his rather unfortunate past. The past in which he was an associate and friend of Aleister Crowley, and that he had been involved in a plot to blow up the papacy. And that was the term of his house arrest. And Father Blackwood outright asks Ambrose for the name of his fellow conspirators. and gives him some time to think about whether or not he would betray said people to him in exchange for a reduced sentence. Let's leave it at that. So, I must admit, I'm a little envious of Ambrose's past. I mean, he went to university at a young age, had a book of poetry published at 17, taught stage magic to Houdini, and painted with probably the best artists one could ever paint with. Indeed, I share Faustus's surprise that he ever came to blow up the Vatican. I mean, the past such as his, I would have done anything to have. I mean, I'm still working on a bunch of stories that I really, really want published, and I'm 21, I'm going on 22 soon, and I feel time ticking, and I'm just sitting here thinking, what am I doing with my life when this guy already had so much done by the time he was probably my age? Though I asked the question, how in the hell is he so well preserved? I mean, he doesn't look any older than I do. And he's decades old, something like that. How old is Ambrose anyway? And we go to ridiculousness again, because Aunt Zelda submits herself to something called satanic confession. And I thought here the followers of Satan prided on themselves that they were nothing like the false god in his religion, but it seems like you were practically parallel to it. Ugh. And we go into half cultist, because Zelda doesn't always seem to be she is naturally concerned about the Dark Lord's mind and what he wants, but she also says she's not only failing the Church of Knights and thereby default failing Satan, but she's also failing Faustus. The devotion to one person is practically cult-like, and I'm just sitting here thinking, woman, you're doing all right, it's fine. You can't always control what your family does. I do have a bit of sympathy, naturally, of course I do, but she's, I don't know. She's taking this way too hard on herself, and she has practically cult-like behavior. Now, for once, I agree with Mr. McCreepypants, because, yeah, failure is in our nature. We can't do anything about it, and, yeah, get over it. It's not a sin, it's not a defect, it's just something that happens. And apparently Lady Blackwood has seen sense in not letting Mr. McCreepypants into her bed. She's outright refusing the sexual relations of her husband, and quite frankly, I'm not surprised, considering the state of affairs in the last chapter. And cut to those two having hanky-panky. Okay, let's move on. Okay, cut to Susie seeing the ghost of her dead ancestor. Apparently, she wasn't entirely kidding when she said Dorothea's ghost told her to go into the mine. She's been seeing her ancestor a lot. I don't know whether it's just her mind playing her tricks, or if Susie actually has the capability of seeing ghosts. I don't even think I want to know at this point, because whatever the writers do, it's just going to be lazy and shoddy anyway. Now this is where it gets really interesting. The next day at school, Roz confesses to Sabrina that her cunning, or I'm just going to say it, a dimensional scream, happened again at the funeral. When she picked up Tommy's hard hat, Rosalind had a vision. Apparently this vision showed Rosalind that she was in the mines, and that there were two creepy girls, as she put it, playing with dolls and a giant rock. She described Agatha and Dorcas to the letter, from their old-fashioned dresses with lace collars down to their hairstyles, really. After Roz managed to describe to her who those girls were, Sabrina summons Prudence with a spell that I recognize in Latin is mostly a summoning spell with a hint of kiss ass. In pulchra figura humana, in beautiful human form. That's literally what it means. So yeah, she was kissing up to her, which is why Prudence said, all right, I'm here, what do you want? Because she recognized the kissassery from the very moment. When finally Sabrina told Prudence what she wanted, which was revenge, Prudence was like, hey, I'm in. Who? Your venomous sisters. They went after Harvey, they went after Tommy. I want revenge. So, Nicholas is going to be witness to murder, Prudence an accessory, and Dorcas an unwilling accessory, and Agatha the murder victim. Okay. Oh, Sabrina goes to find Miss Wardwell's Book of the Dead, and at midnight she performs the ritual. I want to say Agatha's getting her just desserts, but at the same time, necromancy is not the way you're going to bring somebody back from the dead, I can tell you that. Because I don't need to tell you that it's not just the body you need to bring back, it's the soul. And unfortunately, Sabrina doesn't seem to get that. The body is just nothing more than a pile of clothing, really. It's expendable. It can get old. What truly needs to come back is the soul. Something that many people forget. Well, at least we have one person who seems to know what they're doing. Nicholas is a student of necromancy, so at least he is there to make sure that nothing can go wrong. So first they invoke the hounds of heaven, hounds of hell, and hounds of earth. 3 hounds of each portal. The next step is to open the gates between this world and the next. Third stage, sacrifice. Opening the earth itself. Oh, just watching this makes me angry and for once in people's lives, why can't they do what is right? Necromancy is forbidden. We'll have to admit something though. Those sound effects were a little itsy bitsy overboard. And Sabrina actually slit her throat. Oh my god. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. Oh my god. This is... Yeah, no... Not even Nimue in Merlin did this stupidity. Not even Merlin was so stupid. They just threw the cosmic forces in out of balance. There has to be a life for a life. It's not just juju concocted by fantasy. It's not just juju concocted by Hollywood. It's an actual law of nature. And even Merlin knew that, for crying out loud. In the series, he ensured that Nimue would die so that the balance would be restored. But this is just this is just stupidity. Utter complete stupidity. Not even my favorite series cocked this up. And that is why they're better, and this is nothing more than a pile of horse shit. Naturally, Ambrose is for once the only one who realizes the danger that Sabrina puts herself in, and naturally Sabrina, like the dim-witted tart that she actually is, just doesn't see the problems that she has created. And I'm completely on Ambrose's side with this one. Infamous last word. Everything will be okay. No, they won't. No, they fucking won't. Agatha came back from the cane pit. Prudence scolded her for a second time. And Zelda and Hilda are discussing their current state of affairs, I suppose. So, Roz tells Sabrina the truth about her cunning, about her blindness, about everything. Naturally, after Sabrina asks about the visions. The High Priest once again visits Ambrose, asks the name for the co-conspirators. Ambrose says no. Surprisingly, the High Priest is very happy about that. And then says that he'll try to lessen the sentence because he doesn't have the power to completely revoke it. Apparently. Instead, he offers Ambrose a job at the Academy of Unseen Arts. Not to everybody's surprise, Ambrose agrees. For once, I'm actually happy that something good is happening. Ambrose deserves it. I mean, cooped up inside a house for all eternity drives one to insanity. Following this scene, Zelda informs the High Priest that his wife is not only pregnant with twins, but likely pregnant with twin sons. Unfortunately, when Zelda tries to kiss him in happiness, he rejects her. Instead, they seem to be going to do penance, which is a sort of really fucked up version of BDSM. In this case, it would appear, I don't know what it is, they don't make this clear, they need a cat o' nine tails, one whips the other whips the other, vice versa, you know, that sort of thing. Okay, I'm gonna stop now. Sabrina realizes finally, after Ambrose told her, that the body won't rise in the woods, but where it originally fell. She goes back to the mines, sees nothing that has happened, and this chapter ends with a shadowy figure knocking heavily on the door. I must say, this episode was pretty goddamn painful, and not also in the ways of the accuracies, but also in the ways that these characters are so stupid and depressing, and that this whole thing is just one giant mess. And I think that was the whole point of it, a giant mess, because people didn't realize what the consequences would be for their actions. Now, my little ravens, I'm going to sign off, and I'm going to take an hour or two of respite before I have to do other things for university. Till the next one, my little ravens, take care of yourselves and stay with me. We're almost through it.